Hello and welcome to the It's Your Effin' Journey podcast. My name is Melissa Hemming, and if a life coach and a therapist had a baby, you would get me. I am thrilled to be back. Did you miss me last week? I missed you guys. It was really surreal not having an episode come out even when I'm traveling. That was the first week that I've taken off in a long time, which was much needed, but I did miss you guys, and I'm so excited to share today the journey of my trip to Tokyo and the Tokyo Marathon and all the things. I'm sure I'm going to forget some stuff that I, want to talk about, but obviously that's the beauty of podcasting. I can come back and record more. But for now, I'm going to try to hit you with all of the amazingness that was my experience, and I'm just so grateful to be back. And it's funny taking a big trip like that. Like, I knew going into it, I'm like, Melissa, it's going to be a blip of time in your life, and it's going to go by so fast, and soon enough it's going to be March 8th. You're going to be back and you're going to be looking at this trip in the past, right? And it seems so big and it seems like so huge to be doing. I don't know, at least it felt like that to me. And then it's going to be over. And that's exactly what's happened. And I'm like, wait, what happened? But at least this is what I always come back to. And this is going to be a theme in the marathon itself for me too, is being present. And my mindset journey, or my journey through my mindset, or my journey through my mental health, or whatever you want to describe it as, it's allowed me to, maybe not initially, but with a quick switch of my mind, be able to be present and in the moment and take it all in. And I'm so grateful for that, because I wasn't always able to do that. And it's just, that's like when people come to see me in therapy, a lot of the times that's their goal. They're like, I'm not able to be present in the moment. I'm not able to appreciate, my kids or my time with them or my job even. And I know that that's a skill that I've developed, and I'm really, really grateful for. And you can too. If you are out there and you're like, I don't know how to be present, or I'm not great at that, that's something that you develop over time. So keep at it. And gratitude really helps with that. A daily gratitude practice. Okay. So we left. Okay, so there was like a big blizzard. There's been lots of snow in New England this year. And we had booked our trip Wednesday, the 25th. So we're leaving Wednesday, the 25th, and you fly overnight, or really, essentially, you lose an entire day. And we get to Tokyo Thursday afternoon. Now, we had a huge blizzard the Monday before we left, which really set a lot of people into not just panic mode, but they literally couldn't leave because of the snow. If people were leaving New England either Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday, they got screwed and their flights got postponed, which obviously then puts pressure and puts extra people on the other flights throughout the week. So I was really nervous about all of that. And then on top of that, we were leaving Wednesday morning and we were getting more snow. We were thinking that there might be even more snow coming Wednesday morning. And I was like, oh my God, if our first flight gets fucked up, because our first flight was taking us to Chicago, and then on Chicago, we boarded a flight for 12 hours to Tokyo. We just needed to get the fuck out of Hartford and get to Chicago, because Chicago actually had better weather than we did. So that was sort of how we started our trip. And we got to the airport. It was so much fun. So Alexis and I flew out together. And it was so fun because our friends Melissa and Jason, they were heading to Disney's Princess Weekend. And they were doing the Princess Challenge. They're doing actually a perfect season. And Disney, drink if I say jam, because that's what we do around here. So let's drink. So they were heading out the same exact time in the morning as Alexis and I. So we got to have a little airport date. I got to have a little happy hour at 4:30 in the morning with Jason and Melissa. Alexis came shortly after. Got to hang out with them. And then they had to get on their flight first. And we boarded our flight to Chicago. We did have to de-ice because of the snow, but we got off within a reasonable amount of time, got to Chicago, and made it to our connecting flight with no issues. So that was a really good thing. Now, coincidentally, we couldn't be sat together, which is fine, but we did both get window seats, which I was like, yay, a window seat to Japan. This is amazing. It's not amazing to have a window seat on a 12-hour flight because you can get up at any point, but it's much harder to get up. Luckily, I sat with a runner. It was a runner who was running Tokyo. It was his sixth star, I believe. I can't remember. I've talked to so many people in Tokyo about it. I think it was his sixth. So it was him, his wife, and me. And so my strategy was whenever they get up, you get up. And luckily they got up a lot. He got up to stretch his legs. She got up to go to the bathroom. So whenever they got up, I got up, walk up and down the aisles. I would go to the bathroom. I would do whatever I had to do. And honestly, I was really had hyped myself up for this flight. I got so many, I brought like Old Maid and all my little therapy games, card games, coloring books, word search books. I used nothing of it. Because you know how it is when you have a fucking carry-on. It's really hard to find things in it. You just want to leave your bag under the seat ahead of you. So I just used the airlines. We flew Japan Airlines from Chicago to Japan, and I loved it. They gave us headphones and they had their own movies, so I just mostly used that. My phone was having trouble. I had trouble with a charger on the way there, so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to use their stuff. I tried to sleep. I took some gummies, just tried my best to rest. So they fed us. They always feed you so well on international flights. So I had noodles because obviously I'm a vegetarian. I didn't tell them ahead of time and they seemed to be fine to accommodate. That was a very different situation on the way home, but I'll get to that. So I had noodles. They give us 2 full meals on that flight and then a snack in the middle. They give you wine. It's very lovely. I love to be fed and serviced and all of those things. So it really wasn't that bad. I watched movies and we landed right on time Thursday afternoon. So you lose a whole day going there, right? Which is just fucking weird, right? You leave on Wednesday, you wake up, or you arrive on Thursday afternoon. And our plan was just to get there. We landed at 3:30 p.m.-ish. And we were going to get to our hotel room, eat, and just crash that night and sort of sleep the whole night and wake up normal and ready to go on Friday. So now Alexis is really great navigating the trains. And she had done a lot of research about the trains and how sort of to get us around. I am not as great with public transportation. I'm sort of an Uber girl, and that's how I operate a lot of the times when I'm traveling. It was really nice to learn the trains and get to use them because it was obviously a lot cheaper. It felt really more accomplished when you got to your destination because it was hard to navigate a train system that's not in your language. But yeah, so the train system starts at the airport. So you don't even have to go. You go right from the airport to the trains, which are really clean. They have really happy music that they play. It almost sounds like you're in fucking Disney World when they play the music in the trains. And we got on our first train and headed to our hotel. And our first hotel was in Ginza. We were staying in Ginza from Thursday to Monday. And so we got to our hotel. Now, one of the things that we had heard about prior to the trip was how amazing the 7-Elevens are. How fresh the food is, how they have all this delicious food to choose from. And it's funny. It's sort of like I compared it to going to Jamaica and wondering if I would be able to buy marijuana in Jamaica. And I literally got off the plane and was presented with the opportunity to buy marijuana in Jamaica. And it was sort of like 7-Elevens in Tokyo. Our hotel was connected to a 7-Eleven. It wasn't a matter of when you will find one. You will definitely find them. They are everywhere in Japan, and they are wonderful. So we got to our hotel, went to our first 7-Eleven, got some stuff, tried the egg sandwich, tried the strawberry sandwich. It's the bread doesn't have crust, and it's so soft and delicious. I can't even describe to you what they taste like. And we did a lot of research while we were there because I'm like, why the fuck is 7-Eleven so magical in Tokyo? And it's just because They really value fresh ingredients. They want everything that you are exposed to be of a high quality, and that's exactly what the 7-Elevens are. Like, their food is moved in fresh. It's not sitting out ever. It's so fucking good. It's so fucking good. So we checked in our hotel, and so everything is so cheap in Japan. Excuse me, I'm like so thirsty. That I knew that from when we booked our hotels. So again, from my London and Paris trip, I was able to do those 2 trips or 2 locations in last year because I stayed in hostels. So I'm not afraid of staying in a hostel to save myself some money and to be able to extend trips or whatever I want to do. So I had said to Alexis, like, do you mind staying in a hostel? You know, I had a great experience and I'd love to do that if we could. We didn't have to in Japan. Hostels are just the same amount of money as hotels. So that was my first experience to oh, maybe Japan is cheaper, like they say. So obviously the flight to Japan was like $1,200, which is more than, you would spend typically on a flight somewhere. But really, to get to a place that's so cheap, you got to go to Japan. Go to fucking Japan. So the hotels that we booked were ridiculously cheap. Under $150 a night, and they were all 5-star hotels. So our first hotel, as I said, was in Ginza. Super cute. And the hotels, we had twin beds, but they were pushed together. We were fine with that. And honestly, it felt like we were in separate beds, even though they were touching. I don't know if they do that to save space in the hotel rooms. I got my first experience with a Japanese toilet, and holy shit, every toilet in Japan has a bidet, which it was my first time using them. It does take a little bit of getting used to. So there's the place where you can wash your ass, wash your vagina. There's music for privacy. There's a big flush button, a light flush button. It's all very amazing. You also learn that you also don't want to wash your ass with some of the toilet paper they have there, because then it gets in your butt. I don't know, this is TMI, but there's a whole strategy there that I don't know that I really mastered, but you have to be aware of it. But no matter what, the showers too, our first shower in Ginza, not only did it have a thing that water came down over you, but they also had 3 nozzles of water hitting you and oscillating, and also the ability to use one of those wands to wash yourself. The Japanese are so clean, and I felt so clean the entire time that I was there. So yeah, so we got to the hotel, we just started exploring, we started eating. Again, the eating was just as cheap as the hotel stuff. So 1,000 yen is $6.41 American dollars. And you realize very quickly that your money gets you very far in Japan. Just to give you an idea, okay, so our last night in Tokyo, we went out to one of those sushi bar, oh my God, what is it called? The belt. They used to have one in West Hartford, it was called Umai, and the belt would come around the sushi. This is different. This is fresher, of course, we're in Japan. So it's not just the chefs making sushi and putting it around to the restaurant to who wants it. It's all made to order. So you're at your table at the restaurant ordering sushi, and it's being made and coming right to your table. Delicious. It's fucking delicious. It was amazing. We had 16 plates of sushi plus a soup plus 3 drinks each, so 6 drinks total. And that was 6,100 yen, which is $40. $40. It would have been a $200 meal in Connecticut was $40 at this place. So your money just gets you so far. You can hop in a 7-Eleven. I mean, you could grab a bunch of different snacks. It's not even 1,000 yen, so it's under $6. It's crazy. So that's all we did. So it was challenging. The sleeping stuff was a little bit more challenging. I think in a perfect world, I'm yeah, we go and we arrive Thursday and we sleep all night and we wake up on Friday. But obviously your body does different things. And I think that the first night I did take melatonin, and I did sleep mostly through the night, but I found that the first couple days, even if I would go to bed early, I usually do at home, 9 o'clock-ish, I would be up by 4 in my bed, like scrolling on my phone. And so it was different than I thought, you know, but we did okay. We did okay. So Friday was our expo day. So, but first we went for pancakes. We went for Japanese pancakes. They were so thick. They had all these different kinds. I had salted caramel with cheesy eggs and potatoes. The pancakes were fluffy. It was so yummy. That was our first like real sort of meal. We must have eaten the night before, but I can't remember. We ate 7-Eleven, I think. So we did that. We went to the pancakes. Then we went to the expo. So we went to the expo. We met some friends along the way. That was so fun. I love the expos because you just meet all the friends. You talk about the races. You know, you talk about all your marathons. We met a girl named Rebecca, and we got to the expo. And the expo everything was really well organized. Now, the one thing that I will say, it's funny. I think I was more nervous going to Paris and not speaking the language than I was about going to Tokyo. And I don't really know why that was. I know no Japanese, but I found it really easy to navigate there. Most of the people speak English, so you typically didn't have issues that way. A lot of the restaurants, you order from QR codes, so you don't even have to really, have to communicate what you are wanting or whatever, which I think was my biggest concern, just because I don't eat meat. I'm like, how am I going to properly express that? But I didn't really have to with the way that the menus were set up. You just change your little language to English and you order that way, and it makes it super easy to navigate. There's also no tipping there. So whatever your bill comes out to at a restaurant, like that's what it is. Tipping is not something that you do in Japan. So we went to the expo. The expo was weird. First of all, they don't give t-shirts for the marathon, which I thought was strange. I've never been to a race, especially of that caliber, that doesn't give a t-shirt. So that was strange. No t-shirts in Japan. We got our bibs, did all the stuff at the expo. We finished all the stuff at the main floor, and we were like, where are all the things that you can buy, like fuel and shoes and all that type of stuff? And that was at a different level. So we finished the regular expo, went down to the other level. I didn't buy anything. Alexis bought a jacket. It was cute. My souvenir from the race is usually the race photos, because they're a significant amount. And that's usually what I treat myself to. You always buy the pics, or I always buy the pics. I believe in that. So we did that. And then that night we had our sumo wrestling dinner. So we did a sumo wrestling show, and they fed us like yummy ramen and noodles while we ate. That was vegetarian for me, so that was exciting. Had some yummy drinks, saw a fun show. I got to go and pound the mochi pounding. That was my big participation that night. So fun, so much fun. So that was our first day. And then Saturday, we went and did a shakeout run along Imperial Palace. Imperial Palace was somewhat close to our hotel, and there was a lot of people, a lot of runners meeting up for various shakeout runs. I don't often do a shakeout run when I travel for a marathon, but when in Tokyo, you participate. And I was ready to move my legs. I mean, it's weird being in taper from marathon training anyways, and then add in, we had, as I said, the snow before we left. So all my little tiny runs that I was supposed to do leading up to Tokyo, I didn't get to do because of the snow. So it was nice to be able to shake out and do that. And it was a beautiful run. It was literally just a 5K around the Imperial Palace. I love the Japanese trees. The cherry blossoms were starting to bloom. They're so pretty. It was just really nice. The weather was a little bit warmer than Connecticut. This was a little bit challenging. Like think spring that's starting to be warm, but really not as warm as you would like it. So it was sort of like, 50s in the sun can feel really good. 50s in the clouds can feel really cold. I studied the weather a lot before I came, and one of my biggest things was should I bring my winter jacket? I do wish that I had brought my winter jacket, because there was a lot of times I was a little cold. I wore like my Lululemon sort of like cloth heavier spring jacket, and the days that it was rainy, I was like, I wish I had my jacket, but what are you gonna do? a lot of the weather was like that, except so that was Saturday. That was Saturday before the race. That was a beautiful day. It was strange though, because on the weather app, they were saying like heat wave. I was like, what is happening? How is a 60-degree day a heat wave? But that's, I guess, what they consider in Japan. I don't know. That was weird. So we did a shakeout run that day. And then we had our museum trip to Team Lab Planet, which was so fucking cool. This was the only time that we failed getting somewhere and had to take an Uber. We tried taking a combination of bus and train to get to Team Lab, and we did not do very well. So I ended up ordering us an Uber. We Ubered to the museum. The museum was set into 4 different categories. Garden, which was all of these orchids that were like tied to the ceilings that it came down and went back up. There's mirrors everywhere. So it's just it's like such an immersive experience. It was garden. What was the other one? The other one, I forget what it was called, but it was so cool. It was all like uneven ground and also artwork that like the people in the museum could do. You would color a picture or draw a picture. They would scan it and they would put it on the walls and you could interact with it. It was really such a cool museum. So we did that. We did our own pictures and saw them up there. Some of the things we didn't do just because like we were a day before the marathon and I'm like, I'm not fucking like dying and crawling up this thing and breaking an ankle. So there were some things like we didn't do. We left it to the kids. And then the coolest area I thought was water. You actually have to take your shoes off before you go in because you're actually walking through water. You walk up through water. There's this whole area of like lights. It's beautiful. You're just immersed in this rows and rows of lights. Again, there's mirrors everywhere. It was such a fun museum. So we did that. And then we went out for our pre-marathon meal, which was a typical, like it was like I think it was the only restaurant that we went to in Japan that we actually had to take our shoes off for. So we took our shoes off, went in. They were so fun there. It was like, it was a kebab place. And I ordered this tofu soup, which actually came and it was actually the only thing that I ordered that I was like, is this alive? It was not alive. It was like steam moving something on the plate, but it sort of looked like my tofu was alive, which was a little scary when you're eating tofu and you're a vegetarian. But it was so delicious. It was my favorite thing that night. That dinner was like another crazy low amount. I think it was like under $40 and we ate like kings. We ordered, I think 2 orders of Japanese pickles, which were so good. Edamame, the tofu. I had kebabs and rice. It was so yummy. So we did that. We had that delicious dinner. And then we went to go get rest for the marathon. So the marathon itself, we didn't have to be awake too early for. I think I set my alarm for 4:00 that day. The plan was to just take the train to the start line. Seemed relatively easy. The weather was going to be in the low 60s at the height of the day. So I was wearing shorts, tank top, sports bra, of course. Alexis was wearing shorts and a tank top. Or no, shorts and a sports bra. Betty, don't start. Betty. And so we woke up, we got ready. I went right down to 7-Eleven, got some pancakes. They had the fucking best pancakes. Like, I'm obsessed with McDonald's hotcakes. And there's a whole thing. Like, you get the McDonald's hotcakes. And what I like to do is there's 3 hotcakes in the order. And I like to get my order, make sure there's 3 butters. I put the butters in between the hotcakes. It melts them. Once they're melted, I lather them on the pancakes. And I eat them like that. I don't even eat them with syrup. I just eat them with butter and heated butter. Come here, Betty. So the pancakes at 7-Eleven are sort of similar. They come in like a plastic bag. You put them in the microwave for 20 to 30 seconds, and they're melted with this margarine syrup that's already in the pancakes. They are delightful. So I grabbed some pancakes. That was my pre-race meal. And we got ready, all glittered up. Alexis did my braids the night before. I was so grateful for that. I love having my braids done for marathons. And we went off. I think our goal was to be out of the room at 6. I can't even remember. The race starts at 9:10. So I think we were leaving at like 6:30. I think that was the goal. So we headed out to the train, which was a little nerve-wracking because we didn't see runners for a little while, and that's sort of like a good indicator you're in the right place when you see a lot of runners. And we finally saw the runners, and we're like, all right, we're in the right place. We tried to stay inside as long as we could. We were both wearing throwaways, but it was pretty chilly. It was a little bit chillier than I had anticipated. I wished that I had like throwaway gloves. My fingers were cold. So we stayed inside as long as we could in sort of like the train station area and then headed out. We were in different corrals. Alexis is way faster than I. She was in corral G, I think, and I was in K. So we found the porta potties. They had very intricate lines for the porta potties. It did seem like they were really long, but they moved pretty fast. That's the one thing that I had heard from other race participants before, is that there's not a lot of potties in the beginning. So I sort of assumed I'm going to be in line for the potties, you know, for the most part waiting for the race to start. So I had sort of accepted that. I had already done most of my biz at the hotel, pooped adequately. And that was a really exciting part of this trip for me, was that app that I love called Poop Map. I got to poop in Japan and I got a new badge about like traveling the world. The joy that app Poop Map brings me, I wish all of you were on there, because it's just really fun to have this thing that you do every day. Everybody poops and you get rewarded for it. Like, what? It's so exciting. So went to the bathroom and then parted with Alexis. She went to her corral, I went to my corral, and waited at the start. And it was really emotional, as it typically is, waiting for that race to start. It was, I had all the feels, you know, it was so weird, you know, hearing the music and hearing them speaking in Japanese, and just like, I just had to keep pinching myself this whole trip, this whole race, this whole week. Like, I'm in fucking Tokyo. I'm in Tokyo about to run the fucking Tokyo Marathon. Like, what is happening? What is life right now? And so I just think there was so many moments of that. You know, even as cold as I was, even as like, you know, you just can't help but take it all in and just be so fucking grateful for where you are. And, you know, I just had so many moments of like that, like, just, is this my life? And how is this my life? And thank goodness this is my life. And thank goodness that I said yes and took chances and have ended up in this amazing place of running down the streets of Tokyo. So I got rid of my throwaways way too early. I saw the first bucket that you could throw them into, and I saw everyone throwing them. And it was a mixture of like, I don't know how many more places there's going to be to drop them. The answer is tons. So just keep your throwaways on, because what I ended up thinking was going to be a hop, skip, and a jump to the start line was a fucking long, cold walk. When the sun came out from behind the buildings, it was lovely. And when the sun was covered by the buildings, it was quite cold. So I just wish that I had them a little bit longer, but you know what, I coulda, shoulda. Got rid of the throwaways, and shortly thereafter. Okay, so the dilemma, if you will, with the Tokyo Marathon is that the race starts at 9:10 and the course closes at, I think it's 4:10. So you have 7 hours to complete the Tokyo Marathon, and they don't give a shit when you start. So if you're in corral, I don't know what the last corral was, maybe M. Let's say you're corral M and you start at 9:45. You still have to get your fucking ass to the finish line in 7 hours, just like the people that started at 9:10. So that was the biggest sort of stress for me, which I realized quickly that it was not a stress at all. I think there's 8 cutoff points through the race that they can take you off if you're not hitting those targets, because they have to reopen the roads, and they're very strict in Tokyo. Tokyo, I think, is the most strict in terms of time for any of the world majors. So once the race started, like, that was on my mind. But it was funny that we met a fellow runner at the sumo wrestling show who told us, he was like, are you worried about the cutoffs? And I was like, I am a little bit. I know I really shouldn't be, but it's hard to not be. And he was like, basically you have to run a 5K in under an hour. That's like sort of what the gauge is. Like you have to run a 5K in under an hour. And I know that I can do that. Even walking, I can do that. So that set my mind at ease that night. And I kept sort of thinking that even when the race was starting, I'm like, yeah, I'm worried about the time. I don't want to get taken off the course, but as long as I can do a 5K in an hour, I'm good. So the race eventually started, and we started through this like really busy area of Tokyo. Hey, my dogs are just not cooperating. I'm very sorry. So the race started, and it was amazing. I can't even describe how big Tokyo is. Like we would get to these like huge areas of the city, and I'm like, how have we never been here before? And I feel like we've been all over the place, but it is huge. So we just started running. I felt good. I got into a groove. There was another stressor for me, which was the aid stations. So last year in Tokyo, 2025, they had a really hot day and they ran out of cups for hydration. And for someone like me, I don't like to carry my own water. I don't wear one of those like hydration vests. If anything, I carry like a fucking Poland Spring bottle in my hand. That's really it. They gave us a refillable cup to use, which I brought with me because I didn't want to run out of the opportunity to fill up my cup. So I knew that if I had the refillable cup, I'd be okay. So that was what I did that morning, which was a very new strategy for me in a race, but they are really strict about what you bring into the race. So you couldn't bring bananas. You couldn't bring any liquids over 250 milliliters. There was a really strict policy. So I just knew it'd be better for me to carry this little refillable cup than to mess with any of their rules and potentially be screwed from what I needed during the race. So that was what I did. Now, Boston, I'm not sure about New York. I know Boston, starting mile 1, there are aid stations. And that is what I sort of rely on. They didn't have any aid stations starting until the 5K mark, which I was thirsty by then. I was thirsty and I was ready for something to drink. That was a little bit weird. They also served no like gels or goo or anything like that. They served like actual food. And I was so mad. Yesterday, they sent a survey, like a Tokyo Marathon survey. And I did it, and they gave like a breakdown of all the food they gave away during the marathon. And I was so sad that I missed like a pancake, it said. But anything that they gave, I did try. That's sort of like marathon 101. Like you don't try something new on race day, but you know, I trusted my stomach and I really wanted the full experience. So they had, I don't even know what mile it was. The best way to describe it is like a dinner roll filled with custard. So it was so fucking good. They had chocolate. They did give bananas, which was like crazy because they were like mushy all over the place. So I had all that. I fueled really well myself. I made sure I brought syrup with me. So I brought the untapped syrup and I ate those. I had a lot of those. I had nerd clusters in a baggie in my pocket. And I felt really good. I sort of went into it knowing that I had trained for a sub-5 marathon. And I also, like, I know myself and I know running and I know that, you know, doesn't matter really what you've trained for. You never know what's going to happen race day. Although I had trained for sub-5 and I was pretty on pace for that for a while. It started to get really hot on the sunny parts of like when you're running in Tokyo and you're on a street and the sun is beaming down at you. Sunday was by far the hottest day we had the whole time we were there. And of course that was the day we were running. So I just, you know, at first I got a little sad. I'm not going to lie. And then I said, you know, Melissa, you have this one opportunity to run the streets of Tokyo. First of all, why would you want it to be over sooner? Like, you are here. You are likely never going to do this again. This is a once in a lifetime running opportunity. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Embrace it. Be here for it. Take it all in. And even if that means walking more, even if that means smiling more, like be here for it. And that's exactly what I did. So I don't even know it's funny. Like I remember London so strongly, and mile 8 was when I sort of fell apart in London. It's funny too. I did London faster than I did Tokyo, which made me laugh the other day when I looked at that. But because I struggled so hard, and London was so fucking hot, and it was just, I don't even know. But Tokyo, I will say, I was so proud of my mindset during it, because I was able to so quickly like not be hard on myself. And that's taken a long ass time for me to get to this place where I can, you know, really say like, what does it matter? And also like the one thing I always go back to too is nobody gives a shit how long it took you to run a marathon. They just care that you ran a marathon. And, you know, it's putting into perspective. I'm like, my kids don't fucking care. They don't care how fast I ran this. They think it's so cool that I'm here doing this. So I'm going to just be here for it and take it all in. And so I slowed down my intervals at this point. I did something different. I did something different that I've never done during a run before or during a race like that, is when I walked, I was not letting myself walk slower than a 15-minute per mile. And I actually, you know, I went to the internet and I said, you know, what if I walk the rest of the marathon at this pace? How long will it take me? Sometimes I need to do that mentally to tell myself like, okay, this is not that bad. And also like it would be torture to walk this whole rest of this time, like 10 miles, right? And that's not to talk shit about walking. I love walking. I love intervals. I love my walk breaks. But it's very different saying I'm going to walk for 10 miles versus like I'm going to make sure that I do a 30-second walk, 30-second run. It's just like, for me, I'm like, I do not want to walk for 10 full miles because I know I'll be here for forever. Which is I'm still grateful for, but I don't want to do that. So I know that worst case scenario, I keep at this pace walking. I walk for 10 miles. This is how long it'll take me. So that's what I did. I did like 30-second intervals, 30-30. I switched it up if I felt good. And then I got to the last, and the whole course was flat. There was a downhill at the beginning. Another interesting thing about the course is that there are so many out and backs. So the course almost looked like a clover-ish, but you would like go out like a stretch of road and you'd come back. And that was harder the further you got through the race, because as you passed people, you knew how much of this road do I have to cover before I have to come back this way. And I know for the last 5K, that was a struggle for some people. When I got to the last 5K, I was on top of the world. I was on top of Mount Fuji mentally. I loved the final 5K. I felt good at that point. You know, this is where I think training comes into play. First of all, I don't train necessarily to hit a certain pace on my race days. I train so that I'm injury free. Point blank, period. I hear a lot of nonsense sometimes about, you know, training is unnecessary and you know, running is all mindset. And that's true and dandy. But I think when you think about the ways that training helps you to stay injury free, that to me is more meaningful, because I want to continue to do this shit. And I know that setting myself up for my body to know what's coming and to know what's happening is only going to help me to be out there longer. Knock on wood, I've had very few injuries running related, and I credit that to my diligent training and to my strength training, and my commitment to keeping those things going. Those are the things that have helped me remain injury free and keep me out on the courses and keep me doing this shit. So yeah, it's not about the pace per se, it's about my body being capable. And I will say that I think that my training also, like when I'm running on the treadmill, doing these crazy amounts of miles to get ready for these races, I always push myself the last 0.1. Like I pretend like it's, you know, if I'm on the treadmill and I'm doing like 6, 6, and 6 for 18 miles, I always make sure to push myself at the end so that I know I can do it at the finish line. And I thought this was the coolest thing, because when I got to that last 5K, even though I had to slow my pace and I walked a little bit more for the 10 miles leading up to it, or 5 miles. I don't even know. I was able to push and I was able to fucking run and keep running at that point. I felt so good. I loved the energy at the end of this race. One of the things that people had said about Tokyo is that it was quieter than the other world majors. And I will say maybe a little bit quieter. Some of them, they really like to wave and they clap in Tokyo. So there's a lot of like waving and that sort of thing. The volunteers were amazing. I thought they did a great job. I think the only difference for me during the marathon was that you hear your name a lot less because I imagine they don't know how to pronounce it. And also the signs are harder to read, obviously, if you don't read Japanese. So I think those two things were a little bit different. The name thing really fucked with me in the beginning. I really wanted to hear my name. I love to hear my name. I had it on the front of my shirt and the back of my shirt. I probably heard it. I made a game in the first half marathon of the race to count how many times I heard my name, and it was like under, I think, 9 times, which is unheard of. If like you're running Chicago with your name on you, you've probably heard it 300 times in the first half. But what was cool about it is that every single time I heard it, it was so much more meaningful. Like I literally was tearing up every fucking time I heard my name. It got better in the last half. I heard it way more and way more often. It was amazing. I even saw Alexis on the course. I, at one point, was looking for her, couldn't find her, almost gave up. And then I heard Melissa coming from the other side, and it was her coming through. Unfortunately, I didn't get a video, but that was really cool too. So last 5K, I loved it. I did a shot of wine, got a kiss. A guy kissed me on the cheek, a Japanese man. It was so much fun. I just had the best time. I felt terrible because Alexis was waiting for me at the end, and she's, as I said, way faster than I. She actually just ended up like finishing the race and just sitting there, not even getting her medal. She waited there a whole hour while I finished up and finally came through to the finish line, and it was amazing. I felt great. It was wonderful. She was there. We went through, got our medals together, got all our stuff. I had also, fucking course was so goddamn long. That was the one thing that drove me crazy this whole race was very early on, I realized that my mileage was over significantly. Like, and I mean, significantly, I say that with a grain of salt, but when I finished the race, I think I was at 27.2. So that's pretty, like it's enough that if you're a runner, it will fuck with your head through the whole race, because when you say to yourself, like, I only have X to go, or, you know, I'm at X mileage, like I do my videos during the race and I'm like, I'm at mile 1, I'm at mile 2. But when I did those, I knew that I was a little bit early. Like I was following my watch, not the race course. So the whole time it was just really confusing. Finished way over 26. I mean, a marathon is 26.2. To be at 27.2, I think that was the longest course I'd ever had at a major. And then I had heard that there was such a long walk to the finish, like, you know, through the whole finish maze. And I found that to be not true at all. New York, you're walking for like 5 miles after you finish. I'm exaggerating a little bit. I did end up having to walk like 5 miles to my hotel, but you're walking like probably 2 miles to the finish. This race was way shorter, like way shorter. We were through the finish area. I was really sad because like I've always seen like these Tokyo Marathon jackets that they give at the end. We did not get that. We got like this towel, like this hooded sort of short towel they gave us at the end. I was sad. I wanted a shirt, or I wanted like that Tokyo thing that I've seen. I don't know. I was a little bit disappointed about that, but really happy about the finish. Also, the medal was the smallest of all the world majors, but it was still beautiful to get. One thing I was nervous about was the trains afterwards, because in London, you literally couldn't even get on a train afterwards. That's how crowded the city was. This was a little bit different. So we finished the race, got on the train, no big deal, and headed back to to our hotel. Took our showers and laid for a little while, and then went out to dinner. We went out to sushi that night. Another delicious dinner that cost like $1, and then was going to continue our trip. So after the race, we went, oh God, I got to talk about the magic erasers. That was weird. So on the race course, I kept seeing these like they look like magic erasers. And they were like hard to navigate around. And if you tripped on one, you could like trip. It ended up being sponges. And we still don't know where people got them from. But apparently, because it had gotten hot and humid, people were using the sponges to cool themselves off, but then like dropping them on the course, which I thought was a little bit dangerous. But that was strange. Magic erasers. So yeah, so we finished the race, had our dinner, went to bed. Monday came and my legs were sore. My like thighs were really sorer than I expected, especially because we did walk. You know, I always say, you know, walking the most after a marathon helps recovery so much. We walked like a while to dinner and stuff, but my legs were still hurting the next day. We were also moving hotels. So we were moving from Ginza to Tokyo Bay, which was closer to the water, closer to Disney, which we were going on Wednesday. So but first we wanted to go to this place. We called them vagina sandwiches. They look like vaginas. They're fried sandwiches, and you can choose. It's sort of like a crepe. You can choose sweet or savory, and they had all these different flavors. So I chose chocolate strawberry because that's the kind that has the cream in it. I chose creme brulee, which is the favorite, and I chose egg salad because I was on an egg salad kick in Tokyo. They were all so good. My favorites were the egg salad and the creme brulee. Chocolate strawberry was okay. But we had the sandwiches. You have to wait in line for like a half hour. It's like literally like a square cubicle. You go in and order, and then you get your food outside. You have to eat it outside. It was like starting to rain at that point. And then we headed back to our hotel to get our bags. We ran into our friend Kim, who had just gotten her 6-star in Tokyo the day before, randomly ran into her in the street, which was really fun. And then got our bags to go to Tokyo Bay. And this hotel was so nice too. It was like another fucking like 5-star resort for like $100 a night. They had an onsen in there, so you get to go and get naked and get into the hot water. They had a sauna. So we really chilled in there. And then did we go out that night? I guess that was the night we went out. We went to the Golden Gate. And that was so much fun. It was like alleyways of little bars and restaurants, and not restaurants as much, like little bars. And you go in, and some of them have like food. We really couldn't find many with food, but lots of drinking. And this was our night out. It was like the only night out that we had. But it's so fun because the bars fit like 8 people. So you sort of like peek your head in, and like they'll tell you like we have room or we don't have room. And so we went out that night. We met a bunch of people, had so much fun. Went out for late night sushi that night. And then I forget what Tuesday. Okay, so Tuesday was supposed to be our tour where we do a hike and hopefully get a glimpse of Mount Fuji. And it ended up getting rained out. So it was nice. The tour guide emailed Alexis and said, hey, you know, it's going to rain tomorrow. Like, if you guys can do it on Thursday, we're doing it Thursday at 11 o'clock. So we did that. We switched our tour because it was really rainy on Tuesday. And we went exploring. We found the cat shrine of the little kitty cat. And we found another shrine. We found Japanese pizza, which was so delicious. All the food was so fucking good. That was such a fun day. It was freezing. It was fucking freezing, but we had so much fun. And we found at one of the shrines, they had like this area where you could do your fortune. And so we got our fortunes, which were actually really good fortunes. But afterwards, we saw all the fortunes like tied up on these like strings. So we were like, okay, I guess that's what you're supposed to do, like tie up your fortune. We didn't find out until our tour on Thursday that we were supposed to take Tuesday that you only tie up your bad fortunes. So if you get a bad fortune, and they do have bad fortunes, you tie it up and supposedly the gods come and like take care of it for you, or, you know, make it better for you. So we tied up our good fortunes. We didn't know. And that was super fun. I can't remember where we ate that night, but we ate, maybe we didn't even eat again because we had all that delicious pizza and pasta. That was so good. But yeah, had a great day. And then Wednesday we went to Disney, which was, I loved it. I'm a Disney girl through and through. So there's 2 parks there, Disneyland, Tokyo Disneyland, and Disney Seas. And both of them are extremely crowded. And it's hard to get, all the rides or all the things that you want to do. And I knew this, so I sort of went in having 0 expectations and just enjoying it for what it was. We had park hoppers. Again, just like everything in Japan, everything is so much cheaper. So we had one park hopper, cost under $100. So we were able to go to both parks. Now, I fucked up I don't know how I did this, but apparently when I bought the park hoppers, there should have been a place to indicate what park we wanted to go to first. I was supposed to say Disney Seas. I did not. I guess I chose Tokyo Disney. We waited in the whole fucking line to rope drop Disney Seas, and then only to find out at the gate that our admission was for Disneyland. We couldn't park hop till later. So we really wasted some valuable time in the morning, which was a little bit sad. But then I was like, you know what? We're here in Disney in Tokyo again. Like the theme of I think of my mindset the whole week was like, you are here. Who gives a flying fuck if you can't do all of the rides, right? Who cares? Who cares? I did Disneyland Paris in May, and I don't remember what rides I did or didn't get on. I don't care. I care that I went to Disneyland Paris. So I sort of went into the Tokyoland Disney with the same mindset. I'm like, all right, I fucked it up. Obviously, we're not going to get to do all the things that we want to do in Disney Seas, but I'm going to appreciate everything that we can do. And everything we can do is amazing. So we went to Disneyland, and the big thing at Disney there is popcorn. They have all these different flavors of popcorn, 13 different flavors, and also popcorn buckets. So our friends, Melissa and Jason, gotta drink. They were obviously at Princess Weekend, like I had said in the beginning. And Jason really wanted the Peter Pan popcorn bucket. So early on, we grabbed that. Alexis is a superstar. She walked around with it all day and then had to pack it strategically so it didn't break on the way home. And she was successful. So yay, Alexis. She saved the Peter Pan day for Jason. And so we ate a lot. We found hot red wine. I'm not even a red wine girl, but it was so cold when we got there. Finding this hot red wine from Gaston it saved the day. Saved the day in the morning, and it saved the day again at night because it was cold that day. But so we went around Disneyland, which was all the classic stuff. We went on Peter Pan. We went on It's a Small World, Thunder Mountain. We got on Pooh's Honey Hunt. We got on the Baymax ride, which is unique to Disneyland Tokyo, and I thought that was the most fun. We ate, we took pictures at the castle, just had a blast. And then we went over to park hop to Disney Seas later on, and we got on only 2 rides there. But on the way out of the park to go to Disney Seas, we ran into some characters. We saw Mickey and Minnie and Pluto, and that was so cute. I was so happy. Captain Hook as well. And then Disney Seas, the one that I really wanted to go on. I really wanted to go on Rapunzel there, and I really wanted to go on Beauty and the Beast at Disneyland. Beauty and the Beast was closed at Disneyland, so there was nothing we could do. And Rapunzel we could buy. So we bought Rapunzel. We bought Rapunzel and Baymax. The other ones were sort of fast passes that you book. And that we did that with Pooh's Honey Hunt and Thunder Mountain. So Disney Seas was really beautiful though. It's a beautiful park. It's so intricately designed. There's characters in the mountains, the mountains that they have, there's characters coming down the sides. It's really beautiful. So walking around there was amazing. We actually ended up in New York. They have a New York part, and then around the corner from that was Cape Cod. So that was so funny to have traveled across the world to come home to where our home is. So that was really fun. And then it got really fucking cold. So we parked hopped 5 times. We went Disneyland for that significant part of the morning, Disney Seas, back to Disney. Wait, I can't remember. We did it a lot though, because we had to go back for Thunder Mountain, and then we had to go back for Rapunzel. So anyways, we were there for 12 hours, and at the end of the day we found the hot red wine again and had two, sat and had one to like warm up and then walked with one. I loved the Rapunzel ride. It was a little short. I can't believe how long people were waiting. I mean, the lines in Disney Seas were like 3+ hours. Like everyone was waiting 3+ hours for all of these rides. We got on Rapunzel and Sinbad's Great Adventure or some shit like that. I'm like, who the fuck is Sinbad? I thought it was going to be like this tiny little ride, and it was pretty big for whoever he is. I still have to look it up. But that was a really fun day. I was exhausted at the end of the day. And then the next day was our last day, and the tour that we took, that I wish, my only regret about this tour is that I wish we did it like day one, because we learned so much from the tour guide. He was so helpful and informative. He was Jamaican, and he came to Japan for 1 year and never left. He's been there for 10 years. He loves it. Speaks fluent Japanese, reads fluent Japanese, and does these tours. And so I think we convinced him to do like a sex tour, because he was telling us all about these like hostess bars and sex stores, and we were like, we're coming back to Japan for your sex tour. So if you're interested, you let him know that you want him to bring this tour. He was such a nice guy. But he taught us about the fortunes and how, because we got really bad ones on the tour with him, and he was like, it's okay, you just tie them up. And we were like, but we tied up our good ones too. So we tied up our good fortunes and our bad fortunes. So hopefully either we're just null and void, or only the good ones will come true. But this was a really cool tour. We met him in like we had to take a train like almost 2 hours to get to him, and he was going to be meeting us at the train station holding a yellow tennis ball, which I thought was hysterical. He literally was, but all he had to do was be like, I'm the tallest black man who's Jamaican in all of Japan, and we would have found him that way too. But it was just him, a German guy that I kept calling Augustus Glut, and Alexis and I. That was just the four of us. So we started off like sort of in this town and walked to the base of the mountain, where we took a terrifying chairlift up. The chairlift had no bar on it, and it was really scary going up. We went up this whole mountain, got to the top, and then walked the rest of the way up the mountain. And there was all of these shrines that we learned so much about. All these, like the mountain that we went on was about like health and longevity or something. So all these places that people come to, you know, ask for help with their health issues, they had all these little baby statues, and the people come to pray about their sick children. And then once their children are healed, the moms or whoever comes to pray makes like hats and bibs for them. So the little babies have like red hats and bibs to show that their thanks for their children being okay. So that was really sweet. There were so many like just cool stories, and we just learned so much that day. So we went up to the big shrine, and then we went and got to see Mount Fuji, which was a beautiful view, and that was amazing. We took lots of pictures, and then we did like a 2-mile hike back down to, and then there's like on the mountains there's like ramen. We got to eat ramen on the way. There's these little booths with these, I don't even know what they're called. They're like almost like mochi balls, but they heat them around like a fire and then like put like soy sauce on them. We had those. It was so cool. They had a beer garden there, but if you go to the beer garden, you're not allowed to go down on the chairlift. You have to go down the other way or walk. So it was just so cool. So cool. We walked across like this suspension bridge, and we were just like talking the whole time and asking questions. And then we went from there, and he drove us to another mountain where he goes to the hot springs. So another onsen. So this one, it was so funny. This one, we got in. You have to like, they like have these like shower areas where you sit on your butt, obviously. You're naked, you're totally naked, and you have to wash yourself. And these women, I was like, oh my God, I didn't know how clean you could get sitting down. Oh, you can. So we did that for a while, and then went back. He brought us back to like the train station, but we found one of those conveyor. This is the meal that I was telling you about in the beginning, the sushi meal, where we had 16 plates of sushi and 3 drinks each, and it was like $40, and that was the most delicious meal. And then we went to Donkey. Again, Donkey is a big store there, and it's like sensation overload. It's stimulation overload, but it's magical. They have levels upon levels. They have everything that you could ever imagine, like toys and candy and food and luggage and sex toys, even so much stuff. And they play a song called Donkey, 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 Donkey in my head, which I'll likely be singing for the rest of my life. But I went there to get some stuff for my kids, and that was super fun. And then took the train. We didn't get back till like 11 o'clock that night. And then my flight was the next day. And I was flying by myself this time. I decided, I'm like, I'm going to take the train to the airport. Took the wrong fucking train and then found a taxi. Got to the airport and had no drama going home. 12 hours to Chicago. I had a 6-hour layover in Chicago, which was pretty fucking long, but I just made the best of it. Got on my flight to Hartford and landed early at Bradley and happily came home to my wonderful family, who my kids were adorably supportive, all of them in their own ways. Family sent me, I don't know why I'm getting emotional now, but they sent me a World Major Marathon medal holder, which was so nice. And like, so I opened that. They also sent me like a Tokyo 26.2 car magnet and little holders for bibs, magnet holders that say like, I run the world, and more positive pickles. And what was really cool about that was I took the medal holder out. Declan was down here with me, and we both went through my medals to find my World Major Marathon medals to put them on the holder. And that was really cool. I just can't believe that all happened. I can't believe that I went to Tokyo and I ran the Tokyo Marathon, and now I'm back and this is my life. Like, I don't know. I'm just really grateful. I'm really, really grateful. A little bit jet lagged and emotional, obviously, but that happened. It happened, and I have the memories and the pictures to prove it. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I'm just so grateful, and I appreciate you. And thank you for being here. I'm ready to go back to life. And how do you go back to life when you've had these cool things happen? I think it carries you through. And 6 months, I can't believe that I'm going to be a 6-star finisher. I think, seeing the 6-star finishers in Tokyo, it was really, really cool to see. And I just can't imagine doing Berlin in September and having that feeling of accomplishing this accomplishment, which I had no idea this was even, it sort of took on a life of its own in the same way that 169 did. You're like, oh, I'm going to start this thing and who knows when I'll finish it. And here I am in 6 months finishing it and having traveled to these amazing places and betting on myself. And I can't encourage you enough to bet on yourself, even if you feel like, I know women, and I know women give everything to their families and their kids. And I guess if I have to leave you with anything, it's that you can do both. You don't have to choose. You don't have to choose you over your kids. You don't have to choose your kids over you. You can choose both. And I think more women need to hear that, because I think sometimes it feels like society or people or whoever are saying you're a shitty person if you choose yourself over your kids. But I think that when you are a mom and you choose you, even when you have kids, you are allowing them to choose themselves too. Especially now with how the world feels, choosing joy and choosing fun and choosing adventure is so important. And that's an act of resistance as well. I'm going to go and move my body, and thank you so much for being here. I'll see you soon.